Hi, my name is Noah. I recently got a job at my local Wal-Mart. It was pretty awesome seeing as how I had managed to get night shift and all. Made a little bit more money, got all those hours. But one thing that I found weird was that once my friends heard about me getting night shift, they all soon cut off contact with me. I summed it up as just them getting some big, complex, over-the-top prank ready to celebrate my new job. Boy, was I wrong. My first night, after I had just arrived at Wal-Mart and I was ready to start working, I walked through the automatic sliding doors. I walked to the register I was assigned to and I just waited. One never realizes how boring Wal-Mart is at night until one works there. After about 30 minutes of listening to music on my cell phone, I heard something. It sounded like one of the automatic sliding doors opened. I looked eagerly at it, hoping to see a customer walk in, but surprisingly, there was no one. I figured it was just faulty wiring in the door, but I still was slightly unnerved by that. I went back to listening to music, but then I heard footsteps. I was sure I and only two other cashiers were the only people in here. That was the problem. I looked at them, but they were both at their registers, seeming to mind their own business. After a while, we started talking, and they seemed pretty cool. May as well mention their names, Gene and Alex. Anyway, as we were talking, I heard some sort of noise as if one of the shopping carts was being pushed along an aisle. We looked at each other, surprised at hearing the noises. We were sure no one had come inside while we were talking. Nevertheless, they volunteered me to go check out what was causing the noise. I walked through the store, listening for the noise. I arrived at one aisle just as the noise stopped, and what did I see? A shopping cart. No person, just a plain, empty shopping cart. That was it. It was all by itself. I found that weird, but I shrugged it off. I walked back to my register and continued talking with Alex and Jean after what seemed like forever. It was time for me to go home. Whew. I said goodbye to them, knowing they were soon to leave as well, as someone else arrived to take over for the night. I arrived home, got ready for bed, climbed into bed, thought about that lonely shopping cart some more. And then I fell asleep. The second night I arrived at Wal-Mart, I walked to my register and realized I was the only one here for now. How could I be alone? Where was management? I didn't think too much about it. I decided to shoot a few amateur videos with my cell phone's, video camera. Great. My phone battery's dead, I thought to myself. I waited for Alex to get here, hoping he'd let me use his phone. After a few minutes of being here by myself, I was getting pretty hungry. I laughed at the thought of ripping open a bag of chips from the chip aisle and picking out on chips. But as you might have guessed, employees can't do that, and maybe they would have picked me up on the camera or something. After a while, I could tell I was going to be by myself for a long time. I didn't know. I could just feel it, and we got so few customers. Well, great, I thought. I walked around the front of the store waiting for someone to come in, finally. But then I heard the PA system come on. No one spoke, just white noise. I ran around from PA to PA, checking them to see which one fell off. Before I found which one fell off, it turned off. I went back to my register, starting to rethink my job. Get the hell out of there. But then Alex came in. I told him about what happened. I couldn't keep it to myself, and he said, "Are you scared? Scaredy cat?" Newbie? Noob? I told him I was merely nervous at the thought of someone messing around in the store and us getting into trouble or something, but he didn't seem to believe me. Later, Jean and a couple of her friends arrived, friends who didn't work with us here at Walmart. A customer finally came in a few minutes later. He was an elderly man, very tall, pale white face as if you couldn't make out much in the way of physical features. Upon hearing me relay the story of what happened earlier to the others for about the fifth time, he walked over to me, though his head was down and covered by a coat. I turned around and asked, "You find everything okay, sir?" All I saw was this white, pale part of his forehead. It's very unusual. Alex told me some story about how 7 cashiers who worked here 3 years ago, who worked the night shift, went missing. I figured at that point he just knew that I was a little perturbed, so he was taking advantage of me. But Alex laughed and walked away. I went outside the Walmart to see if anything was going on in this dark, uneventful night. Maybe I should think twice before calling it uneventful. I walked back inside. An hour later, it started lightly raining. Then the power went out, of which was odd due to the fact that it was only a light rain. I decided to ask Alex for his phone, but he said he left it at his house. I decided to go walking around the store in the dark for no apparent reason whatsoever. And as I was walking near the electronics, I noticed the small TV was still on. Static, but still on. I walked over to it, and I heard someone whisper behind me, "Go to sleep." I'm writing this on one of the laptops from the electronic aisle, but I'm beginning to feel really tired.